The morning in our village of Abruanco always began with a soft golden light that pushed its way through the palm trees. The air carried the scent of fresh dew and the distant sound of women pounding fufu in long wooden mortars. My name is Kojo, and I witnessed the story I am about to tell. It is a story that shaped the fate of our land and also changed the life of a young woman named Amma. Many people still whisper about what happened, but only a few of us know the truth because we saw it with our own eyes. I remember the day Amma was told she would marry Kwesi. It was a quiet afternoon, yet the elders gathered in front of her father's compound with faces that carried a heavy decision. Amma was only 18 and full of the gentle hope that most young women carried at that age. She helped her mother at the market. She fetched water from the stream. She laughed easily. Her future looked like a path laid out by the ancestors. But that day everything shifted. Her father stood with his hands behind his back. His voice sounded tired when he said the words that no daughter ever expects. "You will marry Kwesi before the next new moon." The ground felt like it moved beneath her feet. Even I, who stood nearby, felt something tighten in my chest. Kwesi was known across the entire village for strange behavior. He lived at the edge of the forest where the tall trees swallowed the sunlight. People said he talked to spirits. They said he walked barefoot at night and whispered to the wind. Mothers warned their children not to go near his hut. Some of the young men joked that he had lost his mind long ago. Yet the elders respected him in a silent and easy way. No one went looking for trouble with him. Amma looked at her father with wide eyes. "Why must I marry him?" Her voice trembled. Her father turned away as if he could not hold her gaze. The elders said it was necessary. They said Kwesi had approached them 3 nights earlier. They said the ancestors had spoken to him. They said the village was standing at the edge of danger and only this marriage would protect it. None of us understood a word of that. All we knew was that a young girl was being pushed into a life she had not chosen. But in Abruanco, the word of the elders was final. Amma's tears did not change anything. Her mother held her, but her mother also knew that the decision had already been sealed. The days that followed were heavy like the sky before rainfall. The villagers whispered. Some said Amma would not last a week in that hut near the forest. Others said she would run away. A few believed she would die. I saw her walking with her head lowered, and every step looked painful. But there was something else too. She was brave. Even though fear wrapped itself around her, she still moved with a kind of quiet strength. That strength would become important later, though none of us knew it then. When the wedding day arrived, the sun hid behind a line of clouds as if even it did not want to watch. The drummers played slow rhythms. The women carried calabashes filled with palm wine. Kwesi appeared wearing an old cloth tied loosely around his waist. His hair was wild and his eyes looked distant, but something about him made me pause. His movements were not clumsy like a drunken man. His steps were steady. His eyes scanned the crowd as if searching for something hidden. Amma stood beside him in a simple cloth dress. She looked like a lamb placed beside a restless lion. The ceremony went on in silence. No one cheered. No one smiled. When it was done, Kwesi walked ahead without saying a word, and Amma followed him into the forest path. The villagers watched until the trees swallowed them both. That moment stayed in my mind for many nights. It felt like she had been taken into another world. Amma later told me what happened when she reached his hut. It was small and built from clay with a thatched roof that looked close to collapsing. Inside there was almost nothing. No stool, no mat, only a pot near the fireplace. Yet the place did not feel abandoned. It felt guarded. Kwesi sat beside the doorway and looked at her with clear, calm eyes. His voice surprised her because it was steady. "I am not what they say." That was the first thing he told her. "You must trust me if we are to survive what is coming." Amma was confused. She had spent her whole life hearing people call him mad, but the man in front of her did not seem lost in his mind. She asked him why he acted so strangely in the village. He told her something that would later become the key to everything. "The ancestors gave my family knowledge that must stay hidden. If people knew what I know, they would destroy me and they would destroy this land. Madness is my shield. It keeps dangerous men away. It keeps greedy men blind." Amma did not know how to respond. She had been ready to endure suffering. She had expected torment. Instead, she found a man who spoke of secrets buried deep in the forest and dangers that could swallow the village. For days she tried to understand him. She watched him walk into the forest at dawn. She watched him place his hands on certain trees. She heard him hum old sacred tunes that only the elders usually sang during harvest. Slowly, she realized he was not acting. He was hiding something far bigger than she had imagined. One evening, Kwesi told her to follow him. They walked deeper into the forest until the air grew cold even though the sun was still up. He stopped at a massive old tree with roots that rose like the backs of sleeping animals. He placed his palm on the trunk. This tree holds the truth of our land. My father told me and his father told him, if this tree falls, the spirits that guard Abrawanko will lose their strength. And if greedy men claim this land, the village will die with the tree. Amma felt fear rise inside her. Why would anyone want to claim the land? Kwesi looked at her with an expression that held sadness. Because men with large plans and empty hearts always look for places to turn into gold. They will come. They always come. As if the ancestors wanted to prove his words true, a strange thing happened the next week. 3 men arrived in the village wearing clean shirts and carrying brown envelopes. They said they had papers that proved they owned the land around the forest. They said they would cut down trees and build something that would bring money. The chief and elders did not understand the papers. The men spoke with force. They said the papers were signed in the city. They said the government had approved. Fear spread through the village. The forest was our life. It protected our farms. It gave us herbs. It sheltered the spirits that guided the harvest. Children played there. Hunters prayed there. No one knew what to do. The men said they would return in 3 days to begin work. The whole village shook. That night, Amma and Kwesi sat outside their hut in silence. The moon was bright, yet the night felt heavy. Amma asked him what they should do. He looked into the forest as if waiting for a voice to rise from the shadows. Then he told her something that chilled her. The papers they carry are lies, but the truth that can destroy their plans lies under the old tree, and only the chosen one can reveal it. Amma stared at him. Who is the chosen one? The wind answered before he could speak. It rushed through the trees with a loud and settling roar. Leaves swirled around them. The ground trembled slightly under their feet. And Kwesi slowly turned his eyes to Amma. You are the chosen one. The forest fell silent as if listening. Amma could not breathe. She felt a strange heat crawling up her spine. She wanted to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. Kwesi stepped closer and pointed toward the dark forest path. Tomorrow you must go to the old tree alone. The spirits will show you what must be done. If you refuse, the men will take the land. If you accept, your life will never be the same. Amma felt her heart pounding like a drum of war. And at that exact moment, a deep thunderous sound echoed from the forest as if something ancient had awakened beneath the roots. Right then, a bright light burst between the trees, as if the earth itself had opened. The bright light that burst between the trees did not move like fire, and it did not dance like a lantern. It pulsed softly like a living thing. Amma froze where she stood. I was not there with them, but later when she told me the story, her voice trembled as she described it. The forest glowed with a strange white breath. The leaves held the light as if they had swallowed a piece of the moon. Kwesi did not flinch. He simply bowed his head. The ancestors have answered. That was all he said. The villagers woke when the light shook through the night like a silent warning. Dogs barked. Babies cried. The elders whispered of signs. Some believed a spirit had stepped out of the forest. Others believed a curse had been broken. By dawn, everyone knew something had happened. Everyone except the men with the papers, who slept in the guest hut and laughed loudly as if the land already belonged to them. Amma barely slept. The light stayed in her mind even when her eyes were closed. She remembered the words Kwesi spoke. You are the chosen one. She did not feel chosen. She felt like a girl pushed into a story she did not ask for. Yet something inside her kept pulling her toward the trees. That feeling grew heavier when the first rooster crowed. By sunrise, she rose from the mat and stepped outside the hut. The forest path was quiet. Mist hugged the ground like a blanket. Amma could hear her own heartbeat, and each step felt like it carried her deeper into a world older than the village itself. Kwesi did not follow her. He only watched from the doorway with solemn eyes. The ancestors will show you. He told her that before she left. His voice held a weight that made her realize she might not return as the same person. When she reached the old tree, the mist parted like curtains being pulled aside. The tree looked larger than she remembered. Its roots rose from the earth like carved sculptures. She placed her hand on the trunk. At once the ground beneath her feet hummed. The sound was low and steady, like a distant drum pressed into the soil. Amma stepped back in fear. But the humming grew stronger and began to echo inside her chest. She closed her eyes. Something warm flowed through her fingertips and up her arm. Then she heard a voice. It was not the voice of a man or woman. It did not enter her ears. It grew inside her mind. Child of this land, come forward. The tree vibrated under her hand. Amma felt tears fill her eyes, though she did not know why. She stepped closer with trembling legs. Images flashed before her like shadows painted by fire. She saw old warriors standing at the forest edge. She saw farmers kneeling with heads bowed. She saw a gathering of elders laying their palms on the same tree. She saw a sheet of skin folded and buried under the roots. The voice returned. Beneath these roots lies the truth of this land, the truth they cannot forge, the truth that will break the lies of greedy men. Only your hand can reveal it. The vision faded. Amma gasped for breath and fell to her knees. The humming stopped. The forest fell silent again. She wiped her face and pushed her shaking fingers into the soil. The ground was soft, as if the earth itself stepped aside for her. She dug until her nails filled with dirt. A leaf-shaped piece of leather appeared, dark and old. She lifted it. The tree whispered again. This is the first oath of Abrawanko, signed by the ancient custodians. No paper made by men can stand against it. Amma held the sacred piece of leather against her chest. She felt its warmth. She felt the power inside it like a hidden fire. She rose slowly and looked back at the forest path. She did not feel like the same girl who had walked into the forest at dawn. She felt taller inside, stronger, as if the ancestors had placed their hands on her shoulders. When she reached the hut, Kwesi stepped forward. His eyes widened when he saw the leather. So it is true. The spirits have chosen you. Amma told him what she saw, every detail. His face hardened when she described the men with the papers. He nodded slowly. They must not touch this leather. If they take it, the land will be lost. Amma and Kwesi spent the whole day planning. They knew the men would return to the chief's compound at sunset to demand the land. They knew the villagers would panic. They also knew the elders did not understand the laws written on forged documents. The leather oath was their only protection, but it had to be shown in the right way. It had to be revealed with authority. Kwesi told Amma that she must speak. She must stand before the villagers and the strangers. She must reveal the truth herself because only the chosen one could carry the voice of the ancestors without fear. Amma felt her courage falter. She was young. She had never spoken before elders. She had never stood in front of a crowd. But Kwesi told her something that gave her strength. The spirits will stand behind you. You will not be alone. By sunset, the entire village gathered. Even children, who usually played near the stream, remained close to their mothers. The men who claimed the land stood in the center of the compound. Their backs were straight, their eyes bold. They held their papers as if they were weapons. The chief stepped forward with worry on his face. Elders whispered among themselves. The men repeated their claims. They said the land surrounding the forest belonged to them. They said they had authority. Their voices carried arrogance and confidence. Then Amma stepped out from the crowd. The villagers gasped. No one understood why she was there. Some thought she had lost her mind after marrying Kwesi. Others believed she had come to beg the men for mercy. But she did not kneel. She stood tall. She held the leather in both hands. Her voice rose clear across the compound. These papers are lies. This land belongs to Abrawanko, and this is the proof. Silence dropped like a stone. Even the wind paused. Amma raised the leather. It glowed slightly as the last rays of the sun touched it. The men frowned. One stepped forward and snatched the leather from her hand before anyone could stop him. Amma cried out. Kwesi shouted. But the man looked at the leather and laughed. This is nonsense. This is old junk. He tried to tear it. The leather did not tear. He pulled harder. It still did not tear. He pulled with both hands until his arms shook. The leather did not move. Instead, it grew warm and began to shine. The man screamed and dropped it. His hands shook as if fire had touched him. The villagers gasped and stepped back. The other two men stared in horror as the leather floated slightly above the ground. The air grew heavy. The elders fell to their knees. The chief covered his face. Then the leather dropped. The light vanished. The forest released a deep rumble like distant thunder. The man who touched it stepped back with wild eyes. He whispered something under his breath. Then he turned and ran. The other two followed him. Their voices trembled with fear. They did not look back. The villagers watched them disappear down the path toward the main road. No one spoke. Everyone stared at Amma, at Kwesi, at the leather that now lay quietly in the dust. But before Amma could pick it up, a loud crack echoed from the forest. The ground trembled. Birds flew from the trees. The villagers screamed. Something was moving in the forest. Something massive. Kwesi grabbed Amma's arm and whispered with fear in his voice for the first time. They have awakened the guardian. The tremor under our feet did not stop. The forest roared again as if something ancient had been shaken from a deep sleep. People ran toward their compounds. Mothers clutched their children. The chief shouted orders, but fear swallowed his voice. I was standing near the edge of the group, and I felt the soil rise and fall like the chest of a living creature. Even the birds circled above the trees in frantic patterns. The sound was unlike anything we had ever heard. Amma stood frozen. The sacred leather lay on the ground beside her, and for a moment she feared that the guardian rising in the forest was angry. The elders whispered prayers. Some threw handfuls of dust into the air. Kwesi held Amma's hand tightly. His eyes did not leave the forest. The guardian responds only when danger touches the sacred oath. Those men awakened it when they tried to break it. That was what he said. His voice shook, but he did not let go of her hand. The chief stepped forward. He looked at Kwesi with a mixture of fear and hope. What must we do? How do we calm the guardian? Kwesi did not answer immediately. His eyes were focused on the rising mist around the trees. The guardian does not harm innocent souls, but it is restless. It senses that the land has been threatened. It will come to the village to see the bearer of the oath. Only the chosen one can speak to it. When he said that, his hand pointed to Amma. Amma felt all the eyes turn to her. Her heart pounded like a drum calling warriors to battle. She wanted to run, but her legs did not move. The ground shook again. Leaves fell from the trees. A long, deep sound rose from the forest. It was not the voice of an animal. It was not thunder. It felt like the earth itself was calling her name. Amma, Amma, Amma. Every part of her body felt the vibration. She could not deny the call. The villagers stepped aside as if creating a wide path between Amma and the forest. The mist thickened. A shadow moved between the trees. Not a shape made of flesh. It looked like a giant figure carved from mist and earth. It glided slowly. The trees bent as it passed. The air grew cold. The village fell silent. Even babies stopped crying. Amma took a deep breath and stepped forward. Kwesi followed her, but stopped when the shadow reached the boundary between the forest and the village. The figure rose taller than any man. Its form was made of swirling dust and light. It had no face, yet she could feel its eyes on her. A warm pulse touched her chest like a heartbeat that was not her own. The sacred leather rose into the air again and moved until it floated in front of her. The voice that spoke to her earlier in the forest returned. This land has been threatened. The oath has been challenged. You are the one chosen to protect the truth. Amma felt a strong wind surround her. The villagers fell to their knees. The chief lay flat on the ground. Amma's feet trembled. She opened her mouth to speak. Her voice came out soft but clear. The men who brought the papers will not return. The oath has shown its strength, but the land is still frightened. The forest is unsettled. What must I do to bring peace? The swirling figure tilted its head as if listening to a hidden drum. For the land to rest, the oath must be sealed once more. You must place it back beneath the roots of the sacred tree before the next sunrise. If it is not returned in time, the guardian will not return to sleep. The village will feel its power, and the balance of the land will break. Amma nodded. Though her hands were shaking, the figure lowered itself. The leather floated gently into her palms. She held it tightly. The warmth seeped into her skin. She felt the energy of the ancestors. Then the guardian began to fade. The wind softened. The ground stopped trembling. The mist thinned. In moments, the figure dissolved into small particles of light that drifted back toward the forest like fireflies. A long silence followed. No one moved. Slowly, the villagers lifted their heads. Their eyes filled with awe and fear. Amma stood with her shoulders lifted and her breath steadying. Kwesi walked to her and placed his hand on her back. His voice was low. You did well, but our task is not over. We must return the oath before dawn. The villagers gathered around them. Some praised her. Some reached out to touch her hands. Some looked at her with new respect. But Amma did not feel proud. She felt burdened. She felt the weight of the land pressing on her shoulders. She knew the journey back to the sacred tree would not be simple. She sensed something watching them from the shadows. As the night deepened, the chief invited them into his compound. Torches were lit. The elders sat in a circle. They asked Kwesi to explain everything. For the first time in many years, Kwesi spoke openly before the council. He revealed how his family had guarded sacred knowledge through generations, how he had pretended to be mad to keep greedy men and curious villagers away from the truth. He explained that the forest was more than trees and soil. It was the heart of the village. The ancestors protected it, but they needed the oath to remain hidden. His voice was firm. There was no madness in his eyes, only strength and deep wisdom. Amma sat beside him. Her hands held the leather tightly. She listened to every word. The elders were shocked. Many bowed their heads in shame for misjudging him for so long. But the chief looked at Amma with a deeper concern. You must leave before midnight. The forest spirits are restless. They know the oath has been removed. They may guide you, but they will not wait for long. Amma nodded. She felt ready. She rose to her feet. Kwesi stood with her. They stepped out of the compound to begin their journey. The night sky stretched above them. Stars flickered like watchful eyes. The wind carried the smell of damp soil. Amma looked at Kwesi. Do you think the guardian will return if we succeed? Kwesi nodded. Yes. And when it returns, the land will rest. They walked through the forest path. The darkness was thick, but the sacred leather glowed faintly, as if lighting their way. Owls called from the branches. The leaves rustled with strange whispers. Amma felt hands brushing her shoulders, though she saw no one. The spirits are guiding us, Kwesi said. Do not fear them. When they reached the sacred tree, the forest grew silent again. The trunk looked older than time. Amma knelt beside the roots. She held the leather in her hands and whispered a prayer. But before she could place it into the soil, a low growl echoed from behind them. Kwesi turned quickly. Amma looked over her shoulder. The sound was not from the guardian. It was something else, something alive, something moving closer. Shapes appeared between the trees. 3 men stepped out. They were the same ones who had fled the village, but now their eyes looked wild. Their clothes were torn. Their hands clutched machetes. They had returned, and they were furious. One of them pointed at Amma. Give us the leather, or you will not leave this forest alive. Kwesi stepped between them and Amma, but there were 3 of them and only one of him. They moved forward slowly. Their shadows stretched like claws. Amma felt terror choke her breath as the men closed in, and then she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, slow, growing louder. Something was coming out of the darkness. The footsteps behind Amma grew louder, slow, heavy. Each step pressed into the earth like a drum of war. The 3 men turned their heads sharply. Their eyes widened with fear. Kwesi did not move. His body stood like a shield before Amma. The air around them changed. The leaves stopped moving. The night held its breath. From the darkness, a towering figure emerged. It was not mist this time. It was solid earth shaped into the form of a giant. Its body looked like it had risen straight from the roots of the sacred tree. Its skin shone like polished clay. Its eyes glowed with a deep golden light. It moved with the weight of mountains. Amma knew at once. The guardian had returned. The men stepped back. One dropped his machete. Another fell to his knees. The third tried to speak, but his voice broke into a stutter. The guardian's gaze fell on them. The ground beneath the men cracked. A wave of hot wind rolled through the forest. The trees shook violently. The men screamed and ran in different directions, but the forest itself moved against them. Branches twisted together. Thick vines dropped from the branches. Roots rose like snakes from the soil. The forest closed around the men until their screams faded into the night. No one ever saw them again. Kwesi exhaled with relief. Amma felt her knees weaken. The guardian turned toward her. The golden eyes softened. Amma lifted the leather with trembling hands. She knelt before the roots of the sacred tree. Her voice was steady, though her heart pounded. I return the oath to its rightful place. I protect this land. I honor the ancestors. She pressed the leather deep into the soil. The earth moved as if swallowing it gently. A warm, bright light spread from the roots. The ground hummed with a gentle rhythm. The forest exhaled like a resting being. The guardian stepped back. Its form slowly dissolved into rising dust. Small lights followed it like sparks drifting upward. Then everything stilled. The night became calm. The wind softened. Amma closed her eyes and breathed deeply. The land was finally at peace. Kwesi placed his hand on her shoulder. His voice was filled with pride. You have sealed the oath. The ancestors will speak your name for generations. Amma rose slowly. Her legs were shaking, but her spirit felt taller. She looked at the sacred tree. She sensed gratitude flowing from it like a soft embrace. In that moment, she understood why the ancestors chose her. Not for strength, not for knowledge, but for courage. They began walking back through the forest. The sky above them was turning pale. Dawn approached. Light filtered through the leaves. Birds woke one by one. The path that had felt frightening earlier now welcomed them like an old friend. Amma held Kwesi's hand. For the first time, she saw his face without the mask of madness he used for so many years. There was wisdom in his eyes. There was patience. There was love. He looked at her the way a protector looks at someone who shares the same destiny. When they reached the edge of the village, people had already gathered. Word of the guardian's return had traveled faster than footsteps. The villagers stood in silence. Their faces held fear and awe. But when Amma stepped into the open space, the fear slowly melted away. The chief approached her with his staff. He bowed his head. "You have saved us. You have saved the land." Amma shook her head softly. "The ancestors saved us. I only followed their call." The chief nodded as if understanding something old and sacred for the first time. The elders gathered around her. Some placed their hands on her shoulders. Others blessed her with whispered prayers. Even children crowded around her with wide eyes full of wonder. Kwesi stepped beside her. His presence no longer caused whispers or laughter. Instead, people moved aside for him with respect. They finally saw him for who he truly was. A guardian in human form. A keeper of history. A man who carried secrets older than the village itself. Life in Abuanko returned to peace in the days that followed. The land that had been threatened remained untouched. No one dared approach it again. The villagers learned to protect the forest with new devotion. Hunters offered prayers before entering. Farmers poured water at the boundary to honor the spirits. Every evening, elders told stories of the night the guardian walked among them. Amma and Kwesi continued living at the edge of the village. But Amma was no longer just a young woman forced into marriage. She became the voice of the ancestors. She became the woman who carried a sacred oath in her hands. Whenever disputes arose, the villagers came to her. Whenever a decision about the land was needed, the elders sought her wisdom. Amma had become part of the spiritual backbone of the community. One morning, Amma stood outside her hut and watched the sunrise. The sky glowed with soft orange light. Birds flew over the fields. Children chased each other along the path. Everything looked calm. Kwesi joined her and placed a hand on her back. "The future of this land is secure," he said. "The ancestors will stand with us always." Amma nodded, but deep inside she felt something more. A quiet call. A soft reminder that the role of a chosen one never truly ends. The sacred tree still lived. The oath still rested in its roots. The forest still watched over them. Amma had become part of that watch. She had become a bridge between the living and the ancient. That evening, the chief called for a gathering. The villagers formed a wide circle around a large fire. The flames danced. Drums beat softly. The chief raised his staff and spoke with a strong voice. "Tonight we honor those who saved our land. Tonight we honor the spirits and the sacred oath. And tonight we honor Amma and Kwesi, who risked their lives for all of us." The villagers cheered. They clapped their hands. They sang. Women ululated with joy. Children jumped around Amma with laughter. Kwesi sat quietly beside her. His eyes reflected the firelight. Amma felt warmth spread through her chest. She had once feared this village. She had once felt forced into a life she did not choose. But now she knew that destiny had guided her. Her path had always been leading her to this moment. The fire burned bright. Sparks flew into the sky. Amma lifted her eyes and whispered a silent prayer to the ancestors. She thanked them. She honored them. She promised to protect the land as long as she lived. Then something soft brushed against her ear. A gentle whisper carried by the wind. It was the same voice she heard inside the forest. The voice of the ancient guardians. It spoke only one phrase. "The land is safe, but stay watchful. Danger sleeps. It never dies." Amma felt a shiver travel down her spine. She looked toward the forest. It was peaceful and calm, but she knew the ancestors spoke truth. Peace was a blessing, but peace was also a responsibility. Kwesi placed his hand on hers. His voice was calm. "Did you hear it?" Amma nodded. "Yes, and I will listen. Always." The drums grew louder. The fire glowed brighter. The village around them celebrated with full hearts. They danced. They sang. They embraced their protectors. But Amma's eyes remained fixed on the horizon, where the forest stood tall like a silent guardian. Her heart understood that life would continue with new challenges. New trials, new tests of courage, but she would not walk alone. Kwesi would stand with her, the ancestors would guide her, and the land would whisper to her whenever danger approached. That night, Alma finally understood the true meaning of being chosen. Not glory, not praise, but vigilance, compassion, and courage that flows from a deep place within the soul. And so the story of Alma of Abruanco became part of the village's living memory. A tale told around fires, a tale whispered to children, a tale carried by the wind through the forest trees, a tale reminding everyone that sometimes the one they call mad is the one carrying the greatest wisdom, and the one they underestimate is the one destined to save them all. The land slept peacefully after that, but Alma never forgot the final whisper. Danger sleeps, it never dies, and she remained ready, always. Alma never wanted to marry Kwesi, the man the village called a madman. He lived alone at the edge of the forest and spoke to trees as if they could answer. But after village elders forced Alma into the marriage to protect family honor, she walked into a life she feared. What she found instead was the greatest secret her people had forgotten. Kwesi was not mad at all. He had been chosen to guard ancient ancestral knowledge hidden deep within the forest. He carried the stories, maps, and spiritual warnings passed down for generations. Everyone thought he was insane because the truth he protected was too sacred to reveal. When land grabbers arrived, waving forged papers and claiming ownership of the village land, Alma and Kwesi realized only the secret in the forest could save their people. Together they uncovered buried clues, confronted powerful enemies, and exposed lies that threatened the entire community. Their courage awakened the old ways, united the villagers, and revealed how strength can come from the most unexpected people. In the end, Alma learned that sometimes the person the world pushes aside is the one carrying its salvation.